This week, verdicts were handed down on more than 50 men in the mass rape trial, which has shocked France. Gisèle Pelicot, who was drugged and repeatedly raped by her husband and dozens of men at his behest, has become a feminist icon for the bravery she has shown in exposing the crimes and seeking justice. Let's hear the report from the DW correspondent Arthur Sullivan from Berlin.
Well, this case has really had a transformative, an utterly transformative effect on perceptions around rape, sexual assault, victims and perpetrators. And the details, as many of your viewers will know, are truly shocking. So the main perpetrator, Dominique Pellicot, now sentenced to those maximum 20 years, he drugged his wife completely without her consent or knowledge. It was a really appalling crime. And the victim's bravery and courage and her conduct throughout the trial has really seen her become a feminist icon and has inspired victims of sexual assault and rape all around the world. And the real key fact here was that she insisted that the trial take place in public, even though she was encouraged and, in fact, to some extent, there was a legal requirement almost to hold it in private and behind closed doors. But she wanted everything as open as possible. That would mean that the perpetrators are named, their actions fully revealed, and as a result of that decision, a huge national discussion, and indeed international discussion, on the topic of rape has taken place. So she had to fight legally just to allow the trial to be in public. And with the details of the case known, it has really upended perceptions. It has shown us that there is no typical rapist. You know, the dozens of convicted rapists here worked in a range of professions. They were in various ages, from their 20s right up to their 70s. Many of them had apparently happy family lives. And the ringleader was the man who the victim, Gisèle Pelicot, trusted absolutely, someone she had been married to for decades and whom she thought she had a happy marriage with. And perhaps most shockingly, the dozens of perpetrators all came from within a relatively short distance from where the victim lived, again illustrating the pervasiveness of rape and sexual assault within society. Now, the key point again really is that throughout the trial, Gisèle Pelicot emphasised that she wanted to transfer the often misplaced shame which victims of rape and sexual assault sometimes feel after they've been the victims to those who absolutely deserve it, the perpetrators. And by the way she has dealt with this trial, she has done that and has inspired victims of sexual assault and rape all around the world. So there were 51 men on trial for rape and sexual assault in France in the extraordinary case of Gisèle Pelicot, and all of them were found guilty one way or another according to different levels this week. So the main perpetrator, that's her husband Dominique Pellicot, he was found guilty of repeatedly drugging and raping his wife over several years, and of inviting dozens of men to come into their family home and do likewise, all critically without the victim's knowledge or consent. Now, Dominique Pellicot, the victim's former husband, was given the maximum penalty of 20 years in prison this week. Now, he's in his 70s, which means that he may well spend the rest of his life in prison. And of the other 50 defendants tried alongside him, they were all found guilty on various levels, despite many claiming that they believed the victim was a willing participant and that she had given consent, which she absolutely had not. Now, those defendants were given a range of sentences from 3 years in some cases to 15 years. And those sentences, it's important to point out, were shorter than the length many prosecutors had sought. And the victim's family and some others criticised the length of some of those sentences. And many of the convicted rapists' legal teams have actually suggested they may appeal. Then they have 10 days to do so. Well, the case, as I said, has led to major soul-searching in France and beyond around rape and sexual assault, and particularly the law when it comes to that. So the really critical concept and word here is consent. So French criminal law defines rape as a penetrative act or an oral sex act committed on someone using, quote, violence, coercion, threat or surprise. It makes no clear mention of the need for consent, and prosecutors must prove the intention to rape to secure a guilty verdict. And of course this means that in the many situations where a victim freezes or feels powerless, as is extremely common, then it's much harder to secure a conviction. And France has been reluctant to move away from this definition. But this case has really led to an examination of the topic, and critics of the existing law says the current situation puts far too much scrutiny on the victim's behaviour, and their words indeed, rather than the accused. Now, there are moves underway by a group in the French Parliament to work on a bill which would change the legal definition of rape, with the focus going back to consent at the centre of any potential new law. Now, it's important to say that consent-based rape law already exists in several European countries, and that has been, more common since the rise of the feminist Me Too movement from 2017 on. But the Pelicot case has proven every bit as transformative as that movement, and the fact that there may now be new laws in France and elsewhere is a testament to Gisèle Pelicot's courage and her determination to help her appalling experience guide other victims.